Good morning, everybody. My name is Matt Callahan with Los Angeles Partners in Homeownership, and welcome to our Quick Start Homebuyer event. Thank you very much for joining. The actual presentation is going to start at 9 a.m. And so you still have a chance to grab a cup of coffee or get settled in, but we're going to start at 9 a.m. and we'll end at around 11 a.m. this morning. So welcome and thank you for joining. So good morning again, everyone. My name is Matthew Callahan with Los Angeles Partners in Homeownership. We're going to begin the workshop at 9 o'clock. Thank you for joining early. If you have any questions or comments, you can post those in the chat. In fact, I'd appreciate if someone could just post confirmation that they can see the start screen and that you're able to hear me speaking. I'd appreciate that. Good morning, Leon Higgins. I see that you've joined the meeting. It looks like you might not be connected to your audio. You could double check that and then we can make sure you're able to be heard.
You see me? Okay, hold on. Let me turn off the phone. I want to make sure we're good. Okay, the phone call is gone. So you're hearing me now through the system. I don't hear you though. You
Uh,
hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now. We're okay now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I hear. What's it? Okay, blow up Zoho, please.
We're old guys here, man. This is tough on us. Um,
But I mean, I do a lot on meetings, Teams, uh, Z- Zoom.
well, you're
I don't
fine
have any
now. You're
issues.
fine now. Totally fine. So I'm going to go ahead.
I'm scared. I'm scared to disconnect. Maybe I
Well, you can
can.
turn your microphone off if you want. So, or you can even turn your video off. But you're fine the way you
Hold on a
are.
second. Okay, let me just do a couple of things. Okay, I just turned it off and turned it back on, so you can hear me now, right?
Yeah, you're very good. Good audio, good video.
Okay. All righty.
Okay.
I'll probably just sit here and look at you for 2 hours because I'm scared to move.
You could do worse things for 2 hours. Um,
Yeah.
So I want to welcome all of our attendees. Sorry for this little inside chat here, getting our technology right. I wonder if I could have one of our attendees confirm that you're seeing our general start screen and hearing me speak. If you could just post a note in the chat saying, hey, it's working well, I'd appreciate that. Okay, I'm seeing thumbs up. Thank you. Appreciate that. Great. Thank you very much. So welcome again, everybody who just joined in the last few minutes. This is the Los Angeles Partners in Homeownership Quick Start Homebuyer event. We're really excited that you're here this morning. The actual presentations are going to start in about 15 minutes. So you still have some time to grab some coffee or stretch your legs, but thank you for joining early, and we'll look forward to getting started in about 15 minutes. Welcome again, everyone. We're going to be starting in about 12 minutes. Thank you for joining. And if you have any questions or comments, you can post them in the Q&A or chat. We'll be monitoring those and getting back to you with answers and responses. Grace Kim, I see you've joined as a co-organizer. Thank you. Right now, the system is showing as your microphone is not active or it's muted. Might be a good time to do a sound check, make sure it's working. Perhaps your video as well. Hi, Grace. Is your audio working, Grace?
Can you hear me?
Perfect. Okay, good. You're good. Thank you, Grace. And then Grace, if you could keep an eye on the chat and the Q&A, I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go to my kitchen real quick and get some coffee.
Sorry, Grace, it's too late for that. It's not allowed.
Please.
Okay, that's fine.
1 minute.
Okay.
Matt, just wanted to double check if you still hear me.
Yeah, I hear you good. Your video is off, but that's fine. But your audio is good. Angie, I see that you've joined. Does
you.
Capri have the link and she's going to be able to join okay?
Yes,
Okay, great.
she'll be joining momentarily.
Excellent. Thank you. So welcome again, everybody. We're going to be starting about 10 minutes from now. Thank you for joining early. Still have a few minutes left to grab a cup of coffee if you need to. But we'll be starting in maybe about 7 minutes. While we're waiting for the workshop to begin, feel free to use our chat or Q&A features of this webinar. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to use that. Our team members will be monitoring that and responding. We really want this to be an interactive webinar. So post your comments and questions, and we'll be getting back to you throughout the event. So someone just posted a question that they are not hearing me. So I wonder if it could be that person doesn't have their speakers on, but if Grace, are you able to hear me okay?
I can hear you okay.
Good. Thank you.
Did someone text you that or put in the group chat? Because I don't
Wait.
see in the chat.
They said they put it in Q&A. I think you got to monitor both the chat and the Q&A, Grace.
Okay. Matt, someone asked, after the seminar, are they getting a certificate?
Yes, we'll go over that as soon as we start, but there is a certificate of completion that will be issued. So we'll be starting in about 3 or 4 minutes. Again, this is the Los Angeles Partners in Homeownership Quick Start Homebuyer event. Thank you very much for joining. We'll be having introductions here in a few minutes and sort of explaining the flow of the event and some of the technical things you need to know. And we'll look forward to getting started in a few minutes here. So, good morning again, everybody. My name is Matthew Callahan. This is the Quick Start Homebuyer event sponsored by Los Angeles Partners in Homeownership and also the Los Angeles Civil Rights Department. We're very excited for this event to have their participation and co-sponsorship, and we're looking forward to a great event. So this is a 2-hour event, and I'll just give you a little background of what we're about here this morning. First of all, Los Angeles Partners in Homeownership is a nonprofit organization started about 10 years ago. We're an all-volunteer organization, and our focus is expanding homeownership opportunities in the city of Los Angeles, primarily through education and information and also advocacy. In the past, we've offered this workshop in a number of different formats, including a day-long event prior to COVID shutdown. We used to do it at California State University, Los Angeles. Now we switched to the live webinar format. And this new format, this quick start format, is really designed to address an important need that we see has not been served up to this point. You know, there's a lot of people who, you know, are thinking about buying a home. They have a general interest in buying the home, but they really don't know where to start. They've heard about some exciting programs that are out there. And so what we're really trying to do here in today's event is a very quickly in a 2-hour period, give you the information, resources, and motivation to start on the path to home ownership. After today's workshop, you'll know what next steps to take. You'll know about the resources and programs that are available. Now, I will tell you that we're going to send you a certificate of completion for this workshop. And we expect that many of the attendees today, depending on which financing program you use for a home, will very likely need to take an additional homebuyer education workshop, a more comprehensive, longer workshop that is often required for some of the homebuyer assistance programs we're going to be discussing. However, we have a very simple way you can do that, and we'll be talking about that at the end. The comprehensive homebuyer education workshop mentioned can be completed at various stages of the home buying process. It generally just needs to be completed before you can actually close on the purchase of your home. So based on today's workshop, you really can start taking the next steps in the path to home ownership. I also want to say two other things just that are important. We really want this to be an interactive event today, so we definitely encourage you to use the Q&A, the chat features that are available. You know, if you have a question or comment, you know, post it in the Q&A. I had two of my team members, Omar Garcia and Grace Kim, are going to be monitoring the chat and responding to you directly. If there's something that's, you know, posted or question that's beneficial to the whole group, they'll share it to the whole group. They may even interrupt me and say, hey, we need to address this as part of the presentation. So definitely this is an interactive event, and we want you to take advantage of that today. The second thing is that we have a lot of great resources for you, including the entire presentation that you're going to be seeing today. This presentation is actually designed for the full comprehensive 8-hour workshop that normally people attend. So you're going to be getting that entire presentation deck. We're not going to be going over every single slide in today's condensed quick start event, but you will get that complete presentation as a reference guide. And we have a number of other tools and resources available to you that are going to be shared at the end. We kind of have this toolbox that we're going to send out to you at the end, a link to a shared drive that you go in and just download all of these documents. The final thing I want to say is that at the very end of the workshop, we're going to direct you to go to a little website where you can complete a more comprehensive intake form. Now, this intake form is needed in order to get your certificate of completion. At a minimum, we need your name and email address and phone number. There are some other questions that are asked there, kind of demographic questions that we need to capture for our compliance and HUD monitoring and reporting requirements. Those additional questions are we hope you complete them, but they're not required. But at a minimum, we need you to fill out the final registration form so that we can get you your certificate of completion. I'll talk more about that at the end. I want to introduce some of our who the team members are today that you're going to be meeting. We're very excited to have a really great team of people here to help you today and work with you, and not just today, but going forward. These are people that you can follow up with, call, email, say, hey, I saw you in the workshop. I have this question. I'm facing this challenge. What are the next steps I take? So today's presenters include Capri Maddox, who's the general manager of the Los Angeles Civil Rights Department. Capri is going to be speaking in a few minutes to tell about what her department does, and also to share some really motivational things about homeownership, some information and experiences in her own life that have shown her why homeownership is so important. And we're really, really excited to have the sponsorship and collaboration with the LA Civil Rights Department today. The second person that you're going to be meeting today is Hapen Im, who's the president and CEO of Faith and Community Empowerment, otherwise known as FACE. FACE is one of the preeminent nonprofit housing counseling agencies in Los Angeles. It's a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. And during the presentation today, Hapen is going to be speaking about the important role that nonprofit housing counseling agencies play, and the very important benefits that come from pre-purchase homebuyer education. The other team member today is Leon Higgins. Leon Higgins is a very experienced real estate broker in Los Angeles who's focused much of his business on serving first-time home buyers. And he was one of the founding members of LA Partners in Homeownership, and he's got a lot of great insight in the home shopping process that he's going to share with us today. The other person you're going to meet is Michelle Oda. Michelle is a mortgage lender who for many, many years has been active, one of the most active lenders in Los Angeles market, Southern California market, serving first-time home buyers. She's one of the most active lenders for the city of Los Angeles and the County of Los Angeles program. And very importantly, she's an active approved California Housing Finance Agency approved lender. And she's going to speak with us today about the CalHFA. CalHFA is the State Housing Finance Agency, and some of the great programs that they offer, and very particularly the Dream for All program that some of you may have heard about. Next, Amir Elahe. Amir is a real estate broker and agent active in a variety of areas in Southern California. I've known Amir, I was thinking about it this morning, I think since 1995. He's just an absolute expert in first-time homebuyer programs. And he's going to be talking to us about some of the opportunities in purchasing a home that have come about because of the new phenomenon, a relatively new phenomenon of remote working. And so he's going to talk about the opportunities to purchase homes in different areas in Los Angeles and even outside of Los Angeles that might be now possible if you're a remote worker. Next, Grace Kim is a real estate agent that I've worked with for many, many years. She's helped many, many first-time home buyers purchase homes and through the City of Los Angeles program. Grace is super experienced in how those programs work, and it helped many, many people access those programs and complete the purchase of their home. Grace is also going to be monitoring the Q&A today and staying on top of that and responding to your questions. She's going to speak towards the end about the final stages when you've got your financing approved and you found your home and you're ready to close your purchase, sort of those final few weeks before the purchase, how that closing process works. Next is Alma Garcia. She's a real estate agent who I met many years ago, and I helped her purchase her first home using home buyer assistance programs. Almost later on became a real estate agent and is helping many first-time home buyers, and Alma's going to be also helping with the chat and Q&A monitoring today. And then finally, myself, Matt Callahan. I'm a mortgage lender focused on first-time homebuyer programs, and I've been active with these programs for many, 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 many years. And so I love what I do. I love serving first-time homebuyers. I'm excited about the benefits homeownership brings to individuals and families in Los Angeles. So all of the contact information for our partners is listed here. You're going to get that list in the toolbox, so it'll be very easy for you to follow up with us. I want to mention that Alma Garcia is Spanish speaking. Grace Kim and Hey Pin are Korean speaking. I'm Spanish speaking myself too, so we definitely can serve you in a variety of languages. If you have any questions, you feel free to post the questions or Q&A in Spanish or even Korean. If you can do that, we'll be able to respond to those questions today. Brief rundown in our agenda. We're going to start with what we've already done, the welcome and introductions, and then we're going to look at the benefits of home ownership. I'm really excited about this feature or segment. Capri Maddox is going to share her personal story about home ownership and why it's important and why she's excited about all of you thinking about buying a home in Los Angeles. I'm going to then turn the discussion a little bit, focus on what are the barriers to home ownership? Why do people find it difficult to buy a home? And then we're going to look at the exciting programs that are offered in Los Angeles for first-time homebuyers. Right now, I kind of feel like we're in the golden age of homebuyer assistance programs. There's some really, really great programs available. And so we want to make sure you know what they are, how they work, and how to access them. There's also some great statewide programs. And I'm going to ask Michelle Oda, as I mentioned, as a mortgage lender, very experienced with the statewide programs offered by the California Housing Finance Agency and also the Golden State Finance Agency. And so she's going to speak about those statewide programs that you can use anywhere. Amir Elahi is going to talk about the special opportunities in purchasing a home if you're a remote worker. And then Hapen M is going to talk about the role of housing counseling agencies and pre-purchase homebuyer education and what her agency does to help first-time homebuyers. Leon Higgins is going to join us to talk about searching for a home. How do you choose a real estate agent? How do you focus on what kind of home you want to buy? How do you, what are the best strategies for getting your offer accepted? There have been some recent developments in the real estate community as a result of some legal things that have been happening in courts that affect the relationship between real estate agents and home buyers. And Leon's going to give us a quick update on that and maybe what you can expect when you start working with a real estate agent. I'm going to come back and talk about the loan application approval process. We're going to talk about what it takes to get your loan approved. We're going to look at income issues, savings, debt, and credit, give you some quick strategies to work on building a mortgage-ready credit profile. And then Grace Kim is going to talk about that final closing process. And then I'll wrap up with some next steps on what to expect and how to get your certificate of completion and really how to take the next step after today in buying your home. And I want to just talk, really quickly about the overall path of home ownership. So in your mind, you have the big picture of what it takes to purchase a home. And there's 6 basic steps. And starting today, which is education, pre-purchase homebuyer education, informing yourself so that you feel confident as you go into the housing market and shopping for a home. Education is power, and this first step is really, really important. The next step is getting your financing approved. A lot of people kind of get this messed up. They'll start shopping for a home and then realize they find a home one they like and they want to make an offer on their home, but they don't have their financing approved. So step number 2 is really, really important. Getting your financing approved is the next step after today. The third step is the home search process. And so this is where you're going to define your home buying goals, the type of home you want to purchase, and working with real estate agents to find your home and get your offer accepted. The next step is the offer and acceptance process, where you found a home and you're going to make an offer on that home. And that sometimes there's a counter offer and you go back and forth. There's a negotiation. Your realtor is helping you with that. And then you have that happy day when you have a fully accepted purchase contract between you and the seller. And we move to the next stage, which is the settlement process. In California, we use escrow companies to settle real estate contracts. And that's the 30-day period approximately that we use to actually close the purchase contract. And then the final stage is the happy day of the closing day, when everything comes together, your loans are funded, and the grant deed, which is a legal document that you say it says you own the home, is recorded at the county, and you get your keys. So that's the big picture path. We're starting it today. We're excited you're here. And so, to add further motivation, we're going to talk about, what are the benefits of home ownership? And to do that, I want to bring in, a big VIP for us, Capri Maddox, who's the general manager of the LA Civil Rights Department, a person that I've known for way too many years, probably. I think I first met her when she was a student intern at the housing department back in the mid 90s. And she's gone on to really great things. She's an attorney. She's the general manager now of the LA Civil Rights Department. So Capri, I'm going to turn it over to you. And thank you again for joining us. Let us know a little bit about your department too and what they're doing.
Right. Thank you so much, Matt. Very grateful. And thank you to everyone that helped me with the technical difficulties. I was stuck in the webinar somewhere in the system, but I was able to hear your words. I really appreciate everyone for being here today. Of course, Capri Maddox, LA Civil Rights General Manager, working under the leadership of the amazing Karen Bass. I want you to know that at Los Angeles Civil Rights, we fight hate, discrimination, and inequities on all fronts. As Matt mentioned, I'm an attorney. We actually can bring cases against folks that violate your civil rights in the areas of commerce, education, employment, and housing in the private sector. I'm sure Araxia or Angie, who helped us put this event together on our behalf, have put in the chat maybe information about our department, but you can go to laisforeveryone.com to learn more about what we do. We celebrate all communities, all cultures, and it is a true honor to share space with Haipen, who is always there to share opportunities of goodness, of strength, and solidarity in Los Angeles. It's not lost on me, Matt, that yes, I met you a long time ago when I was a student worker at the Los Angeles Housing Department. And the reason that I feel safe with you helping our communities lift into home ownership is because, Maya Angelou, to be paraphrased, says, you don't remember what people said or what people did. You remember how they made you feel. And you always made an opportunity. You were always lifting while you were climbing, even in the 1990s at the housing department. And I want you to know that we are grateful for this opportunity. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Some people know my story. My family wasn't really ready to be a family when I came along. I lived with my grandmothers, my play grandmothers and aunties. And then by high school rolls around, I lived with 5 families that took me in to really prevent me from going to the foster care system, right? So we know that there are inequities that are baked in, some through systemic racism and just some from other situations, even in your family's life. And I am very, very grateful. And by the way, my parents and I have a great relationship now. But I want you to know that when we were probably the lowest as we could be, I went to go live with my grandmother in New Jersey. And I was 10 years old. And it took a while for me to put all this together. But you should know that my grandmother was able to have a home because my great grandmother worked for members of the Ford motor family and for many years. And it was, times when domestic work was all we did. And you have to imagine that they were talking about retirement one day. And she said, "When am I going to retire?" And they laughed at her. And so she knew retirement may not have been for her. But when they left to go to Europe, these are the ladies, not Mr. Ford, but some of the ladies in his family, they left her enough money for her to buy all 6 of her children homes. And the reason this is important is all these years later, my grandmother, by the time I was 10 years old, my great grandmother was long gone. I lived with my grandmother in the house that my great grandmother was able to purchase. And what I'm saying to you all that are on this call, you're already interested in home ownership. And maybe you can figure out to live somewhere you want to live, and maybe it may work for you to rent and figure it out in that magnitude. But I'm letting you know it is not about you. I have a more stable life today because my great grandmother became a homeowner in some of the hardest times for African Americans to become a homeowner. My grandmother, by the way, was born in the 1920s. So you can imagine how old my great grandmother was, and to get a sense of how hard it was to buy a home for her children. And she did this like in the 1940s. So what I'm saying is 1940s, 1950s. And so what I'm telling you is it's worth it. It matters. It's important. And it's a generational thing. The last thing I want to say is I thank Matt and allow all the experts that know more about housing and real estate than I'll ever know, is we are all coming together for a better Los Angeles. We know the inequities, we know the hardships. And so we have a program that Angie leads with us called Upward Mobility Programming. And we help people get into the middle class and beyond, because we're not satisfied with people just not being victims of hate crimes or not being discriminated against when they go into a store or to see a service provider. We want to make sure that we break down the walls of inequity in the Los Angeles City Civil Rights Department. We want to break down the walls all over the city, all over the county. And the biggest thing that you should know out of everything I have done in the last 3 years since starting the Civil Rights Department in the city of Los Angeles is this. I got a call from someone. I was tired. I was on my way home from a long, long day. Sun was down again. And they called and said, you know, I went to the Homebuyer workshop 6 weeks ago. And I thank you for inviting me. And I'm 60 plus years old. And I thought the only way I could be a homeowner was to move out of the state, which is what she was planning to do. She said, but I wanted to just call you and tell you I'm on my way to pick up the keys to my home. You can't beat that. You can't beat that. This matters. And for all those that are using their skills and talents, I want to remind all of you, anyone can make a difference. Everyone should try. That's what John F. Kennedy Jr. said. And that's what the people on this call are doing. So LA Homebuyers, thank you for rolling with us. Thank you for making a better Los Angeles. Thank you for being equity busters. And for everyone else on this call that's listening today, do all you can while you can, because it may make a difference 100 years from now. Thank you.
Wow, Capri, thank you so much. That was so inspiring, so awesome. We really, really appreciate it. I wonder if I could ask all of the co-organizers with LA Partners and LA Civil Rights, if you could quickly turn on your camera. We'd love to get a screenshot of everybody. If you could do that, that would be awesome if it's possible. Leon, Alma, if you could do that real quickly. If not, don't worry, but we'll get a screenshot of everybody. But Capri, that was so awesome. Thank you. We really appreciate your inspiration and leadership. We have a really full agenda today, but I feel like I want to also ask Haypen to speak to some of these issues of, why homeownership is important. Haypen, is there anything you want to share from your leadership role as a nonprofit housing agency administrator about the benefits of homeownership? Maybe you have to turn your mic on.
Thank you, Matt, for the opportunity. I know that I'll be speaking a little bit later on the benefit of housing counseling, but there is a $200,000 difference in wealth between renters and homeowners. And that makes a big difference. One of our clients actually who became a homeowner, they came 4 months later, they came to speak at our home ownership fair, and her home price, again, I don't want to say this is the norm, but her home price went up by $100,000 within 4 months when she came to speak at our fair. So in many ways, while you are sleeping, you are increasing your wealth. And government and banks, they are interested in investing in you because why? You know what? Studies have shown that people who become homeowners, their children do better, they're more civically engaged, the society becomes much stronger, better, etc. And that's why a little bit later on, you'll learn about the different down payment government assistance programs that are available. Banks are also interested in helping you. Why? You know why? Because after your first home, you're going to want to probably your home value is going to increase, your wealth is going to increase, and you're probably going to buy a bigger home, which means a bigger loan, which means that's how banks make money too, right? And so there's a lot of self-interest, but at the end of the day, it's the greater good for society and also greater good for you, because not only is that increased wealth going to allow you more financial options, but really the reserve to wait around for the right job, the reserve to start a business, the reserve to help your children or yourself go into education, and just all the freedom that you can have when you become a homeowner, right? You want to decorate the way you want to have pets, you want to have a backyard, you want to leave a legacy for your family. For so many reasons, our country wants you to become a homeowner. And again, a shout out to Matt, who has been leading the charge with all the great partners here in the room, and shout out to Capri. You know, when I heard that Capri is a partner, I was going, oh my gosh, you know, it wasn't such a direct, obvious connection, but at the end of the day, actually it is. Because when you want to create a society where everyone can flourish, home ownership is the major vehicle in which our country has helped people build wealth, right? And build and have options. And unfortunately for underserved communities, low-income communities, communities of color have been left behind. And so this is definitely a pathway that will get you to where many other Americans are. And so welcome to your journey, and welcome to the start of joining the club.
Thank you so much, Hapen. I appreciate it. So forgive me, folks. I'm going to move fast through our agenda. We have so much we got to cover. I do want to point out that Capri's team members did post the contact information for the LA Civil Rights Department in the chat, in the Q&A. And also in the toolbox, you're going to get that information is going to be made available as well. So lots of ways to follow up with her department.
Matt,
So-
if I can interject for a second, just a quick photo of everyone can just look in the camera. That way I can do a quick screenshot. That'd be
Okay.
helpful right now. Okay, so after 3, I'm going to do the screenshot. So please look at your camera at this moment. 1, 2, 3. Oh, well, let's wait. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Did it work?
Perfect. Yes, I got it. Thank
great.
you.
So Capri's got us all excited about it, the benefits of homeownership. We appreciate that. Hapen underscored that. But I got us bring this back down to earth a little bit and talk about, you know, what are the barriers to homeownership? Why do we even have to come to a workshop like this? You know, what are the things that make it difficult to buy a home? Some of the challenges that we all face, you know, that old expression, no pain, no gain. There's anything that's worthwhile in life does require effort. There's challenges, obstacles. So when you think about home ownership, what are those obstacles? Well, we've identified 6 key barriers that most people will face as part of the home ownership journey. All of them may apply to you, or only 1 or 2 of them, and you may have some own individual specialized challenges you're dealing with, but generally these are the 6 barriers. The first is savings, not enough money for the down payment and closing costs. It's really tough for working individuals and families to save up enough money quick enough for that down payment. The next barrier is a huge one in Southern California. That's the affordability barrier. That's a gap between your buying power and home prices. super challenging, super tough. That affordability barrier is real, and it's something that we're all facing. The next barrier is one that people don't often think about, but for me, and I think for a lot of the team members here, we see it all the time, and I call that the access barrier. Just the confusion about buying a home. How do you choose a realtor? How do you get your loan approved? What are interest rates, points, fees, appraisals, home inspection, title insurance? All of these issues that we maybe only deal with once in our whole life can seem really intimidating, and it keeps people from moving forward. I certainly know in my life, if there's something that I don't understand, I don't move forward. Right now, I'm trying to renovate the deck in my backyard, and I love doing home improvement, but I'm not a great construction guy. So I'll get totally stopped on something, not able to move forward on the project until I get enough YouTube videos and figure it out and be able to move on to the next phase. So access is a real barrier in the home buying process. The fourth is credit. Most of us are not going to write a check for a home. We're not going to pay all cash. We're going to finance it. And whenever you finance anything, you need to have a credit reputation that shows that you are eligible for that loan, that you will have the capacity and willingness to repay the loan. And quite frankly, life happens. Things come up that can impact your credit reputation, hurt your credit scores, and make it difficult to get your financing approved. The sixth barrier is one that we see all the time with our first-time home buyers, and I call it the dream home syndrome. And put simply is that people only want what they can't afford. I was talking to Grace Kim about a mutual client recently. She's actually really well qualified, but she'll only consider homes that she actually can't afford. And so this dream home syndrome can really be a barrier for moving forward. Keep in mind that your first home will not be your last home. For most people anyway, it's a home that'll be on a path to a home that will be much closer to your dream home. So being as flexible as possible with your first home purchase will help you take advantage of benefits of home ownership that Capri and Haypin just described.
Matt,
Yes,
are the slides supposed to be showing or no slides?
you should be able to see the slides. You're not seeing the slides?
No.
No.
Let me make sure I've. How about now? The slides are showing now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry about that, folks. Somehow I deactivated them. So those are the barriers to home ownership, but the good news is that we have solutions to those barriers, ways of overcoming those challenges, and we're going to be talking about those this morning. So the very next thing I want to do is jump into the first-time homebuyer programs that are available right now in Los Angeles and Southern California, and then my partner Michelle Oda is going to talk about some of the statewide programs. So as I mentioned at the top, I really think we're in the golden age of first-time homebuyer programs. There's so many great resources out there right now to help you purchase a home. And oftentimes it's just that knowledge and information that do these programs even exist? How do they work? And how do you access them? So we're going to go over that today. We're going to talk about layered financing. We're going to talk about the down payment assistance programs. We're going to make a brief mention of mortgage credit certificates because we're hopeful that program's coming back. We're going to talk about some eligibility requirements and the current status of all these programs. So the first thing I want you to focus on is and understand is this concept of layered financing. When we help people purchase a home using these different assistance programs, it's kind of like making a cake, right? When you make a big, beautiful cake, you usually do it layers. You stack the different layers on there. And the goal is to get the tastiest, most beautiful cake you can. Well, when it comes to financing a home purchase, it's sort of the same thing. We stack these different programs and resources on top of each other with the goal of getting you the most buying power possible, which addresses that affordability barrier, reducing the amount of money you have to contribute, and keeping your payment comfortable for you. So that's the concept of layered financing. And if you look at this little chart that we have here on the screen, you'll see that the first layer is your contribution. That's the money that you're bringing to the purchase. So I call this your blood, sweat, and tears money. This is the money that you have personally saved up from a variety of sources. It's the money that you've sacrificed and set aside. Now, the good news is you don't need a 20% down payment or 10% down payment, even a 3% down payment. With the programs that we're talking about today, you can purchase a home with as little as a 1% personal contribution. So if you're buying a $400,000 home, you need about $4,000 to close the purchase. So that right there addresses the savings barrier, right? You don't need to save up, $100,000. If you can come up with around $4,000 to $5,000 of personal savings, you're ready to move forward with these programs. The next layer is your first mortgage, or sometimes we call that your primary mortgage. This is the loan you're going to be making monthly payments on for 30 years. It's going to be a conventional or government insured, sometimes called an FHA loan. It's going to be a 30-year fixed interest rate loan under whatever best rates are currently available. So this is a loan you're going to make monthly payments on for 30 years. The size of this loan is going to be based on your income and debts. The more income you have, the larger this loan can be. But then, of course, your existing debts, car loans, student loans, credit cards, use up that buying power and reduce it. So we're going to figure out how big that primary mortgage or first mortgage will be. One of the ways that we're able to enhance that primary mortgage is through something called a mortgage credit certificate. Now, I'll tell you, this program, the mortgage credit certificate program, is not currently available in California, but we're crossing our fingers. We're hoping that it's going to become available in 2024. We've been working on the state level to advocate and get that program restored. We think we're close, so stay tuned on that. It's a very powerful federal income tax credit that we can use to boost your buying power. The next layer is the down payment assistance. Now, this is also a loan. It's a junior loan or a subordinate loan that sits behind your primary mortgage. What's special about this subordinate loan or down payment assistance loan is that there's no monthly payment required. It's what we call a deferred repayment loan. It's a loan that just sits there for 30 years with no monthly payment requirement. And so as a lender, we don't have to worry if you can afford this loan. It's not part of your monthly budget. And so we can use it to fill the gap in your buying power. We can treat it as if it was additional down payment money coming from you. So we can use it to boost your buying power and reduce the amount of money you have to contribute to the purchase. Now, these loans are paid back when you sell the home in the future, but there's no monthly payment. As I said, they're silent, soft loans. They have zero interest accruing on them. And depending on the program you choose, there may be some other repayment features. Too much detail for this workshop right now, but these are great, awesome programs that boost buying power, keep monthly payments more affordable, and reduce the amount of money you have to contribute. So thinking back to those barriers, boom, we've dealt with three of the big barriers right away: savings, down payment, and affordability. So these are very awesome programs. We're going to go over what currently available in Los Angeles market. We have some great resources. The final layer is closing cost assistance. Whenever you buy a home, there are costs and fees that you have to pay apart from the actual purchase price of the home. Roughly speaking, these closing costs might be around 3% of the purchase price of the home. There's a variety of different ways we can help cover those those closing costs. We can actually use some of the down payment assistance money. Sometimes it's possible to get a credit from the seller of the home to help cover the cost. But bottom line, the way we structure the financing for you using these programs, we can set it up in many cases so that your minimum contribution is that 1% of the total purchase price, and that's for down payment and closing costs. Now, obviously, if you have more money to contribute, great, you can do that, but the minimum contribution would be that 1% of the home purchase price. So let's keep going. So who qualifies for these programs? So these are general guidelines that apply to most programs. Key thing is you have to be a first-time home buyer. There are some exceptions, but generally you can't have owned a home in the last 3 years. And that means you haven't been on title to the home as an owner. The home must be located in an eligible area. So for example, if you're using the city of Los Angeles first-time home buyer, the home that you're purchasing needs to be in the city of Los Angeles. And we'll talk about that in a second. The household income has to fall within the income limits for the program. So what that means is that these programs are made available to low and moderate income households based on your household size. And in the next slide, I'm going to show you the current income limits in Los Angeles. The home that you purchase with these programs has to be either vacant or owner occupied. So what we're saying here is we can't use these programs to kick out a tenant. We can't use them to displace and in place the tenant. Now, the only exception would be if you yourself or the tenant, your landlord's willing to sell the home to you. That's great. We can use this program to do that. I've been lucky to be able to do that for several of my past clients. But we can't use this program to displace someone living there. So it has to be either owner occupied or vacant at the time you enter into the purchase contract. And then you have to be able to qualify for that conventional or FHA insured loan. And then finally, the home has to be in move-in condition. A lot of times we have people who are thinking they could go out and buy a very distressed property, something that's a major fixer-upper, and you just can't finance a home with a conventional loan or with these down payment assistance if the property itself isn't basically in move-in condition. So those are the basic requirements. I want to go over the income eligibility right now. Now, these are the current income charts for the city of and county of Los Angeles. So the first line there is considered low income. So for example, if you're a one-person household and you earn less than $70,650, you fall within the low income category. And depending on where you purchase, you could get up to $161,000 of down payment help. If your income's a bit higher as a one-person household, up to $105,900, you're considered moderate income, and then up to $109,000, you're considered high moderate income. As your household size increases, you can have more income and still fall within that low, moderate, or high moderate income category. And the assistance amount, as you see in the right-hand side there, changes. Now, really important, I've got some tips for you. Determining income eligibility can be tricky. Do not disqualify yourself. You are not qualified to disqualify yourself. Talk to one of the participating lenders that's experienced with these programs. We find that most people do qualify for some level of assistance. Now, in some cases, it's possible to layer other programs, multiple programs together, and we always try to do that if that makes sense. Some programs are not compatible. We can't stack, sometimes it's not possible to stack multiple programs on top of each other. And sometimes it's almost not advisable. The more you layer different financing programs together, the more complexity you're creating, and it becomes more and more difficult to actually close your purchase. But wherever possible, we do try to layer multiple programs. I do want to make a distinction between the City of Los Angeles and the County of Los Angeles programs. In fact, let me move to that slide now. So this is confusing to a lot of people. They just hear Los Angeles, they think Los Angeles is Los Angeles is Los Angeles. But there are two major governmental entities that are responsible for housing and home ownership in Los Angeles. First is the City of Los Angeles through the Los Angeles Housing Department. So the Housing Department in the City of LA serves the entire city of Los Angeles, which is the largest city within Los Angeles County. City of Los Angeles is huge. It extends from where Cal State LA is on the east down to San Pedro, Harbleton, Wilmington area, all the communities below Dodger Stadium like Eagle Rock, Highland Park, Lincoln Heights, El Sereno, City Terrace, Boyle Heights, downtown LA, Southwest LA, South LA, Watts, San Pedro, Wilmington, as I said, West Los Angeles, out to UCLA airport area, Venice, Hollywood, North Hollywood, and then the entire San Fernando Valley is considered the City of Los Angeles. So the city is really, really large. In the toolbox that you're going to get, you're going to have we're sending you a map of what is considered the City of LA, plus all of the neighborhoods that are actually part of the City of LA. And then there's the County of Los Angeles, which serves many of the other areas in Los Angeles County not served by the City of Los Angeles. So right now, the County of Los Angeles has a home ownership program called HOP. Sometimes people call it HOP. And it's available in 49 smaller cities and all of the unincorporated areas of LA County. Right now, the county is offering up to $85,000 of down payment help in these eligible areas. The city of Los Angeles is offering up to $161,000. And no, we can't combine the programs. It's either the city or the county program. There is a program that you hear about from time to time. It's called the WISH program. It's a program made available through the Federal Home Loan Bank. It's a forgivable loan up to $29,172. It's one of these programs that becomes available and is not available for a period of time. So you have to talk to your lender to see if they're able to access the WISH program. The WISH program is a great one, and we've used it to help a lot of people. It can be a little bit tricky because the income eligibility requirements are not exactly in line with other income eligibility requirements, so it can be a little bit of crazy making. But where possible, we try to use it. The Mortgage Credit Certificate Program, the MCC program, awesome program. It's been on hold for the last 3 years. We're hoping at the state level it's going to be revived, and we're tracking that. We'll certainly let all of you know if that program becomes available. Finally, because of the phenomenon of remote workers and the ability to live not necessarily exactly, the commute issue is no longer the big issue that it used to be. There are opportunities in the Inland Empire, for example, Riverside and San Bernardino County. There's a really great nonprofit housing agency out there, MPHS, Neighborhood Partnership Housing Services, and they are on top of all the first-time homebuyer programs that are out there. Also, one of our team members, Amira Lahe, who is going to be speaking with us a little bit later, can speak to some of those programs in those areas. So next, I want to invite my partner, Michelle Oda, to speak about some of the statewide programs that are available, particularly the programs available through the California Housing Finance Agency. And she's going to really give us the latest update on the Dream for All program. If you've been trying to buy a home in the last year or so, you've more than likely heard about this program. It's really exciting, but there has been some frustration about it. So Michelle, take it away. Explain what California Housing Finance Agency is and what they're doing, what they offer.
Thanks, Matt. So excited to share about these programs. Some people are looking for properties that are not fitting into these programs that we just discussed. So these programs provide a more larger availability. The CalFHA program is for the whole state of California. The GSFA program is somewhat like the CalHFA. They cover a vast majority of the areas in California. They do have different guidelines sometimes, like the GSFA program allows for units. The CalFHA program does not. You can only buy single family homes, condos, townhomes, and manufactured homes that are single units. So those are some of the differences. But one of the things is I would really want to focus in on the down payment assistance program from the Dreams for All through CalHFA, because that created a lot of excitement earlier in the year. The program had $300 million of available funds to provide 20% down for purchasing a property anywhere in California. And it was very successful, almost too successful, because the program ran out of funds within 10 days. And so they used up the funds, and CalHFA now has another 200 million plus that they're going to offer in the beginning of next quarter. But because the funds have ran out so quickly, they are trying to find ways to have the program money last a little longer and to provide the funds for people more in need. So some of the guidelines are they still are going to provide 20% down, still going to be offered in anywhere in California, but they have changed a few things, and I wanted to provide that information. Some of the points I'm going to bring up have not been solidified, have not been finalized, but these first few points are for sure finalized. So the applicant, people who want to try to work with the program, they must be first-time homebuyers, and usually the first-time homebuyer guideline has not owned a home in the last 3 years, but they have changed it so you cannot have owned a home at all, at all. So they're going to be looking at never have owned a home. The FICO score hasn't been finalized, but they're pretty much working with 660 as a minimum FICO score or 680. So, you have to get pre-approved for the loan to be eligible to apply for the program. So if you haven't had anybody check your credit, you want to start working on this now, because this program is going to be opening up in the first quarter of the year, and you want to be prepared. The other thing is that the program, let's see here. So one of the things is when they open up the program, you have to be pre-approved. So that means your lender has to have actually had your loan approved with an underwriter, not pre-qualified with a loan officer, but actually pre-approved. You must finish the homebuyer education. So there's going to be 2. One is going to be an 8-hour class with a 1-hour counseling session. And you also have to take the Dreams for All education. There's going to be a link that they took off, but they will be putting that back on. I think it takes about an hour to complete. And there's 2 certificates you have to get for this particular program. You must apply for being eligible for the program, and they are going to pick names. Now, one of the good things for people who want to buy in Los Angeles County is that they are going to be providing 25% of those funds specifically for LA County. And the reason being is the last time the money came out, it wasn't distributed where there was a large density of population. So they want to have Los Angeles County buyers have more access to the funds. So they are actually allocating certain percentages of the funds for different counties. And LA County is going to get one of the largest allotments. So that's going to be really awesome. And then once you have been approved that you are eligible for the program, they are going to do a lottery. They're going to pick names, and then they're going to give you a certain amount of time to use the program to find a property. So you're not going to be able to have that many for a long period of time to find something. But they haven't determined how long that's going to take. It might be you have 3 months to find a property if you win one of the tickets, or you might have 6 months. So some of the guidelines have not been clarified, but they will by January, I'm thinking. That's what they've said. So the Dreams for All program is very powerful. 20% down really provides a lot of buying power. It avoids paying mortgage insurance, and you will have a equity share aspect, just like the City of LA's program that Matt talked about. But in general, it is one of the most powerful programs to help you purchase. And being that I've been working with the down payment assistance programs for many, many years, this is a unique opportunity. It's not been around for the whole state of California. So if you're, interested, start getting prepared, because it's a very, very helpful program. CalHFA and does have other programs, but I wanted to focus on this one because right now I feel like a lot of first-time homeowners really need to have a larger down payment to actually, qualify for purchasing. So this is the reason why I wanted to focus on talking about the Dreams for All program.
So thanks, Michelle. That's great. In summary, I would say, CalHFA, the State Housing Finance Agency, operates statewide. They do have some existing programs that are just available all the time. Those programs, such as My Home, deal with the savings barrier. They really don't deal with affordability. They're not boosting buying power. It's helpful to people who can afford to finance basically almost the entire purchase price of the home, but they're just short on cash to close. The Dream for All program, though, deals with that affordability barrier.
Yeah.
And because it's available statewide, that creates some options for people who, for whatever reasons, are not going to buy in the city of Los Angeles. Now, I believe, Michelle, that we cannot combine Dream for All with, say, the city of LA or the county of LA program, correct?
That is absolutely correct. The Dreams for All program is only available with just their own funding, not combined with any other programs.
Thanks, Michelle. So anybody that has interest in Cal HFA programs or questions about Dream for All, obviously Michelle's done her homework on this. Feel free to reach out to her and get into more detail and even start the pre-approval process. So we're really making good time, but we've got to keep going. So I'm going to push the agenda. Thanks so much, Michelle. Amir Elahe, are you in the meeting? I don't see you. Amir, I know you had a family member that needed to have a medical appointment today, so it's possible he was not able to join. But Amir was going to talk to us about new options for remote workers. And this really deals with that, barrier that we talked about, the dream home barrier. We'd all love to have a home that is almost adjacent to where we work, very little or no commute time, that meets all of our other requirements in terms of size and bedrooms and affordability. It's really, really tough when you have to layer all those requirements into one property to really meet your goals. So being as flexible as possible really, really helps. The great news is that, remote working is more and more a trend. Many employers are allowing people to work completely remotely or, a substantial part of the work week remotely. So this creates some great opportunities because it really removes that commute issue from much of the home ownership discussion, in terms of which home you're going to purchase. So for example, let's say you're employed in the San Pedro area of the city of Los Angeles, but you're not finding homes that work for you in that area, but your employer allows you to work remotely. What about Van Nuys or the East San Fernando Valley? A lot of affordable homes out there. You can work remotely and still support your employer in San Pedro. Or you could think about it a different way. Maybe your employer is based in the San Fernando Valley, but you're a remote worker. Now perhaps you consider purchasing in Boyle Heights. Or maybe you work in Century City. You really have your heart set on buying a detached single family home, which are some of the most expensive homes to purchase. How about considering a home in Southwest Los Angeles? If you're a remote worker, the single family homes in those neighborhoods are more affordable. That could really work for you. And then even going beyond the Los Angeles area proper, areas like the Antelope Valley have affordable detached single family homes. The Inland Empire, Riverside, San Bernardino have affordable detached single family homes. You could still be employed in the city of Los Angeles, in the county of Los Angeles, and enjoy the opportunity of purchasing a home in some of those more outlying areas because of remote working. So if you have any questions about these options and some of the remote areas that are beyond LA proper, Amir Elahe, who is one of our partners, is on the list today that you'll get at the end, certainly is a great person to follow up with that. So next I want to bring Hapen Im back to us from Faith and Community Empowerment to talk about the important role of HUD-approved housing counseling agencies. So Hapen, before you jump in, I want to address a question that was posted in the Q&A, and perhaps you can add to this clarification. For today's Quick Start workshop, we are going to issue a certificate of completion. And I suspect that for many of you, you will still need to get an additional certificate from a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. The goal, as I mentioned up front, of today's workshop and the certificate you get is to really help you make the immediate next steps of moving forward. And among those next steps, we'll be completing for many of you, depending on the financing program you use, is a comprehensive homebuyer education certificate. At the very end of the workshop, we'll talk about an option for doing that in conjunction with faith and community empowerment, where you can do most of the classroom work online and then have an individual counseling session with faith. So there's convenient ways of getting it done. But hey, Penn, I want to turn it over to you now, and just to talk about the overall role of HUD-approved housing counseling agencies, and not only for pre-purchase, but post-purchase. How do you succeed in keeping your home after you buy it? So take it away, AP.
Sure. So for many of you are going, what is the HUD-approved housing counseling agency? That sounds like therapy, or what? What does that have to do with homeownership? Well, I just want to say it is a network of housing nonprofits who have been required to pass examinations after much study. And it is approved by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is a federal agency. And basically, many of you are curious. You're here going, I want to connect with all those down payment programs, right? And so one of the things that the government requires, as well as many bank programs require, is that you take an 8-hour class that is hosted by a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. And why? Well, again, whether it's government or banks, they're making an investment and they want to make sure that their investment is safe. And in essence, that you're not going to default, right? And so what studies have shown is that if you start off by taking that 8-hour class and the housing counseling, basically that your likelihood of going into foreclosure, of losing your home, drops by 30%. So that's a big deal, right? And then also, as Matt said, once you become a homeowner and life happens, whether it's health crisis, job loss, business problems, divorce, whatever all those things may happen, if you come to a HUD-approved housing counseling agency, and that for foreclosure prevention counseling is free, right? And so if you get assistance through those agencies like FACE, then your likelihood of getting a loan modification increases by 283%. So I just want to plant a seed right now. HUD-approved housing counseling agency, and that's where you should begin, and that's where you should stay connected even after your purchase. And then again, that they provide a lot of wealth of resources, right? So again, there, and whether it's the city of LA, the county of LA, CalHFA, all those are government programs, again, that require the 8-hour class. So I know that today, I'm so grateful to Matt, because probably for most of you, if you heard 8 hours, most of you probably would not have signed up, right? So this 2-hour session is going to get you, inspired. It's going to equip you with a lot of great information. But ultimately, if you are interested in many of these bank down payment programs and government programs, you should and need to take the 8-hour homebuyer education class, right? And so I just want to say again, you could visit our website, facela.org, and look under housing, and you'll see all the programs that are available. Can we go to the next slide? Matt, okay. Oh, what happened there? So again, why? First, you're gonna need that 8-hour certificate, and options include for many agencies, they provide it in person, and for us, we provide it as a live webinar with real instructors, just like today, but it's 8 hours with much more comprehensive program. And then self-paced, that one is like through eHome, and you could also get it through our website. But basically, that one is 24/7, right? You could just go in and take it at your pace. So either one, they have both pros and cons. And then, as I said, the 8-hour class is the start. But I would say the real meat, where you're going to get the true value of your investment, is having that one-on-one counseling session, where, as Matt said, your income is just one, which you would think is a straight answer, but it's not necessarily, right? The way banks and government down payment and bank down payment programs look at your income? It really depends, right? Also your family count. What about your child that's in school? What about your uncle that's living with you? Like all those things, or you have credit challenges, right? And all your paperwork. Again, there's a lot of things that have not one right answer. And the thing is that we're going to help you navigate, right? And help you. It's almost like we're going to give you a cheat sheet before we'll give you a practice test with the answers before you get to the real folks with whether it's loan agents or the down payment programs. And again, today you're learning about all these programs and you don't know where, what, we're going to be able to help you, right? So that you don't have to do the lifting and going from one agent to another, or which program is the best match for me, which bank program is the best match for me. And so we'll connect you with the loan officers, with the down payment programs. And again, I call it 4 C's. So some of the bank down payment programs, usually there's only 2 or 1 per bank. And so if you walk into some of these banks and you say, gosh, I've heard about your, no mortgage insurance or no, down payment or no credit score, and they'll kind of look at you and go, they have no idea what you're talking about, right? And so again, we have already done the hard lifting of identifying which loan officers know these programs and connect you, right? And I call it the 4 C's. The 4 C's, because again, at the end of the day, these officers have to be the people that have, I call capacity, know how to implement the down payment programs, compassion, really passion for first-time home buyers, and commitment, patient and knowledge to get the first-time home buyers to the finish line. Why? Because usually first-time home buyers, they probably have credit challenges, they may lose their job along the way or whatever, and there isn't the reserve of wealthy people where no problem, they could just continue with their home purchase. But for many first-time home buyers, they don't have that reserve. So again, these officers know how to make it work. And then at the bottom line, good communication, right? I think that is absolutely critical because it's going to be this long journey. And again, someone like Matt is a great person, right? He's accessible. He stays in touch with you. Again, having those, those kind of loan officers that have the 4 C's is very, very critical. And then connecting with the real estate agents who have track record of helping first-time home buyers. I'm telling you, it's a tough, tough market out there. And when you layer it with down payment, usually the escrow period is longer, like twice as long. And most sellers, they don't want to wait around. But, the real estate agents who have expertise with these programs, they know how to be persuasive in getting the seller to sell it to you, right? So again, we've done a lot of the lifting to get you to the finish line. Let's go to the next slide, please. And so I want to share with you an example of a client that we helped. He had many different things that you would say would be those challenges, right? His income was only $35,000. And it's not like he had lots of savings, around, but he did take our class and he was very proactive in the counseling session. And that I think is the most important piece, that you follow instructions and you don't live by your rules. When Matt says, I need these documents, or the real estate agent says, I need these, like, you got to follow those rules, not because Matt loves those paperwork. I don't love those paperwork, but it's what's needed to get you to the finish line. And kudos to Kane. He did that. And he's probably one of the fastest turnaround because he was able to do so. So let's, it's 30 seconds from ABC highlighting Kane Rivera.
Buying a home in Southern California is out of reach for many people.
Can you turn the volume a little louder?
Wage earners purchase a home is getting some rave reviews. 22-year-old Vicente Rivera just bought this $249,000 condo in Lake Balboa. His down payment, just $2,900. This was made possible by the nonprofit group Face LA, which stands for Faith and Community Empowerment. Face works with the city of LA and private companies to find affordable housing for first-time buyers.
It makes me feel amazing. I'm literally on another high right now. Like, I feel so high up life. Like, my dream has really came true.
Vicente says he'll actually be paying less for his mortgage than he did for rent. For more information about the program, go to facela.org.
Okay, so again, thank you to all of you, and stay on this path. It's done, Matt. Okay. So basically, stay on this path. Don't give up, and I look forward to seeing you in our 8-hour homebuyer education class, and then again, more importantly, the one-on-one counseling session as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hapen. I really appreciate it. It was great to share that video. I was not sure the technology would work, but I think it did. So, thank you. So next, we're going to be talking about, how do you search for a home? What's a smart way to search for a home? How do you deal with cash buyers? How competitive is the market? How do you profile yourself with sellers? How do you identify where the best opportunities are? Working with a real estate agent, choosing a real estate agent. So we're really happy today to have Leon Higgins, who is one of the LA Partners team members. As I mentioned, a real estate broker with many, many years of experience, despite his youthful appearance. He's going to share with us his background and experience working with these programs and helping people find the home. So Leon, we're on a condensed schedule, but give us the key points that people need to know to really move forward. And I'll advance the slides for you.
Okay, thank you, Matt. One of the things I wanted everyone to really know that you're a buyer, but there are different types of buyers. So knowing the different types of buyers kind of helps you to understand what the main things are that you should be concerned with. You have long-term investors, short-term investors. They have certain things that they're looking for when they purchase homes. As a home buyer, what you should be concerned with mainly is just finding a home that you like and you can afford over the long term. A lot of times people will get caught up worried about too many things, trying to time the market, trying to see when they can get the best interest rates, get the best price. And the market is always changing and moving. So really what you should focus on is finding a home that you like and you can afford it over the long term. That's the main key item. Next slide. The other thing also is that you need to understand that there are different types of markets. There's a seller's market and a buyer's market. In a seller's real estate market, inventory is tight, which means that you have more buyers in the market looking for homes than homes that are actually available. In that case, sellers are usually expecting offers at the list price or higher. They're not willing or not that willing to negotiate on price, make repairs and things of that nature. And usually they will get multiple offers and the homes sell pretty quickly. In a buyer's market, things are reversed. You have an excess of inventory, a lot of homes on the market, actually more homes on the market than buyers who are actually looking for them. And because of that, sellers are aware of that and they're more willing to negotiate on price, offer credits, concessions, and make repairs that you may request. And also the homes usually will take a little longer to sell. One of the things I want everyone to know or understand is that the current market that we're in LA County and pretty much across the country is a seller's market because inventory is very limited and very tight. And because of that, what you want to do is really make sure that your strategy as far as offers that you prepare and your approach to the home buying process matches the market that you're in. So when you match the two together, that kind of helps and leads to more success. The other thing also is you have various goals that you should establish. But one of the things that you heard Matt talk about earlier is the dream home syndrome. One of the things you really want to try and avoid is really trying to just your first home purchase. You want it to be the perfect dream home that you've always thought about. Many times people who purchase a home usually will sell their first home within 7 to 10 years. So there's a high probability that you will end up selling that house very soon in the future. So if you really focus on purchasing a home that meets your budget, meets your requirements, and you can afford it over the long term, that's a good place to start. The other thing also is that you should also consider the possibility of looking for a home in areas that are transitioning or improving. Many of us can probably think back to certain areas or streets that we probably told ourselves we'd never live there, we'd never move there. And sometimes you don't even really want to go there. And now if you go into those same areas, you'll see the homes are very nice. The areas have improved. And the people who were willing to purchase when those areas were improving or transitioning, they are now able to benefit from increased property value and a lot of equity. I've had clients who've done that, and today they're extremely pleased with the amount of equity they were able to accumulate over the years or the short period of time that they've been in those homes. But once again, you have to be willing to go in and take the chance, get in on the ground floor. As the homes are being remodeled and improved, you benefit from that. So it's something to consider as well. Another option would be to consider a townhome or a condominium as your first purchase. The other thing also is what we talked about before. Do not get caught up in the dream home syndrome. A lot of times that can really inhibit your ability to purchase a home. Next slide. One of the key things that you really need to do, first of all, in the process is to choose a real estate agent. That is very, very important. And really, the real estate agent, I would say, is one of the key individuals in this whole process. Your real estate agent is really your quarterback for the entire process. Anything you need to know, you should be able to go to your real estate agent, and they would be the one who can give you the information that you need. They engage or interact with all of your resources and all the other stakeholders, so they keep a pulse on exactly what's going on with your home search process, your transaction. There are a few key items that you should consider when you're looking or choosing a real estate agent. One very important item is that your real estate agent should be a person who understands the home financing that you're going to use in the purchase. Many of you will be using special programs and those down payment assistance programs. Many sellers or sellers agents may not have a good understanding of that. So your agent needs to be able to communicate and explain how those programs work effectively and make the seller and the seller's agent feel very comfortable with moving forward with you and allowing you to purchase the home. Naturally, they should definitely have a very good experience in the market or location where you want to live, so that way they can have a good feel for any good deals or any good things that may be happening in those areas. They should also take time to understand what your goals, needs, and requirements are. And the other thing that we recommend, it's not an absolute, but if you can, you should probably not consider a personal friend or a relative. The reason why we say that is because in a real estate transaction, sometimes everything goes perfect and there's no issues. But many times there are certain things that come up that need to be worked through. The other thing also is that not everyone delivers on what they say. So if you have someone who is a personal friend or a relative, and it turns out that they're not doing a good job for you, or what they're doing or their performance really doesn't match or meet your expectations, now you're in a situation where you have to consider making a change. Many people in that kind of situation usually will avoid firing a personal friend or firing a family member or relative, because that can have an impact on the relationship with those individuals going forward. I know of situations where people have had family members as their realtor or real estate agent. They're not doing the best job that they think they could, but they avoid confronting them or having the discussion about letting them go and moving on to someone else, because they really don't want to have any negative impact or repercussions to their relationship. So it's just something to consider, but we find that it's a lot easier to fire or move on from someone that you don't know all that well or haven't had a long-lasting relationship with versus a close friend or family member. And the other thing that's very, very important is you should definitely work with someone who is a full-time agent, so that way they can work on your behalf around the clock and they're always available to you to do whatever you need. One of the things that Matt mentioned earlier, which is something that you will probably end up having a discussion with when you do select an agent is that any agent, real estate broker, or agent that you work with or want to work with will most likely require that you sign a buyer representation agreement. That agreement really will describe the services that the agent is going to provide to you. It will also review and show what the fees are and any expectations that you may have. The other thing also is that it also will deal with the term of your relationship or the contract that you both are going to enter into. And also it will lay out if in fact you want to terminate the arrangement or the agreement, it will lay that out for you as well. I tend to call the buyer representation agreement an employment contract. Sellers, when they have a home to sell, they hire an agent, which is a listing agent, to sell their home. They have a contract for that. And when you are selecting a real estate agent, the buyer representation agreement is pretty much the buyer's version of the employment contract between you and your agent. Next slide. So there's a couple of things that you definitely want to do to make your home search more successful. One is you definitely have to be an active shopper. As we said, inventory and available homes are very limited. So you definitely want to be looking at homes as many as you can and as quickly as you can. And you should definitely make multiple offers. If you see a house that you like, don't be shy, make an offer on it because you want to make sure that you get your chips in or get your name on the table, because most likely, if you see a house that's nice, that you like, most likely someone else has seen it and likes it as well. So there is going to be competition, and sometimes whoever responds the quickest or gets to it the quickest wins. The other thing also following that same course is that you should respond quickly to any requests or recommendations that come from your agent. If your agent asks you for any information, definitely respond quickly. If they send a house to you or send homes to you that they want you to review or take a look at, you should try and do that as soon as you can, as quickly as possible. When you do decide to make offers, definitely make offers that are strong based on market conditions. We talked about the different types of markets that exist. In a seller's market, you definitely want to make sure that your offer matches what an offer should be in a seller's market. If you are trying to get the best price in the world and you're thinking that you want to make lowball offers, or people are telling you to do that, we strongly advise you not to do that, because in a seller's market, sellers probably will not respond at all to any offers that are too low. So you definitely want to make sure that your offers are in line with the market conditions, and that will definitely lead to your success. When your agent sends you or gives you homes to look at or takes you to homes to show you, you want to give them feedback on any home that you see. Let them know what you liked about the home. Let them know what you didn't really like about the home. If there's anything in particular that you would like the home to have that it did not have, share that information, because by doing so, the agent can then hone in a little more precisely and pinpoint the perfect home for you. Sometimes people may not want to share any information or really give any feedback to the agent. And that really is, we don't recommend that. Definitely feel free to share your thoughts and feelings. I mentioned before that really we look at the relationship between the buyer and your agent as an employment contract type of relationship. So they're working for you. You're not working for them. The agent is working for you. So if the agent brings any information to you, shows you any homes, definitely give them feedback so they can make sure that any homes that you see going forward are more in line with what you're looking for. The other thing is, if you're out and about on your own and you tend to visit an open house or go to an open house, let the host agent that's at the open house know that you are working with an agent, you are represented, and give them a card if you have it for your agent. Mainly what that does, it doesn't change anything. The agent will be polite. They'll give you the information that you need. They'll answer your questions and allow you to walk through the house and take a good look at it. But one of the things, I guess, the benefits of identifying or letting them know that you have an agent is that they won't hover around you and follow you around the house. They'll leave you alone and let you walk around and browse through the house freely. So definitely do that. Just make sure you let them know that you do have an agent. And the other thing, definitely, as you go through this process, is to stay in contact and in touch with your lender. If your financial situation changes in any way, definitely share that with your lender. The lender, I think, would be the person that there shouldn't be any surprises as it relates to information that you give to your lender. A lot of times people will make their own decisions as to, well, the lender doesn't need to know this or that. We say that you need to let the lender know everything so that way they can develop the strategy and select the best financing program for you based on your situation. Next slide. Now, having done all of that, you should be ready to start searching for a home or shopping for a home, but we want to make sure there's a couple of key elements that you need to have in place. You definitely need to have a loan approval letter from your lender that's current and up to date. If it is old, you need to get it updated because the market, as I mentioned before, it changes, it's pretty fluid. So you want to make sure that your loan approval letter is current. You definitely should have already selected a good agent who knows your goals so that they can support you in that regard. Your funds for your earnest money deposit and closing funds should be in your bank account. And that is very, very important. A lot of times when I speak with potential clients, they'll say, well, they have a settlement that's on the way, or when they have a tax return that's on the way. Anything that's on the way will not help you when you're making offers. You need to have your funds in the bank account so that you can show to the seller that you already have the money needed to complete that purchase. A very, very important item with the speed of how things are moving in the current market. You definitely need to have access to email, a fax machine, or a scanner. Many times your lender or someone will ask you for information, and usually when that request is made, it used to be where you could get back to them in a couple of days. Now, if you get a request for any information, usually they're looking for that response within hours or minutes. So having access to email, fax, and scanners will allow you to be able to respond quickly and provide or send over the information they need. And the other thing, which is very, very important, is you definitely have to have a commitment to be an active shopper. Next slide. Now, having done all of that, you're going to get to a point where you find a home that you like, and you're going to want to make an offer on that particular house. Your agent will be the one who prepares the offer package for you. One of the things I want to stress is that when you make an offer, making an offer on a home is not a commitment to purchase that house. You can make multiple offers on different homes at the same time. If you receive more than one acceptance, you can choose the house that you like best and reject the rest. So one of the things that I tell people is that, yes, you can make multiple offers on different homes at the same time, but you should only make offers on homes that you will take if the seller accepts your offer. As an example, if you make an offer on a home on Main Street and you make an offer on a home on Elm Street, if you're fortunate enough to have both sellers accept your offer, you should be in a situation where if you get the offer accepted on Main Street, you would take that and move forward. Or if the seller on Elm Street accepted your offer, you would take that and move forward. If you're fortunate enough to have both offers accepted, then you have the privilege of selecting which home you want to move forward with, and the other one is rejected. So that is a strong point that we tell people. Definitely, any home that you see that you like, make an offer and make it a good offer. The offer package should consist of your purchase agreement. It'll have will also include a copy of your bank statement showing you have the funds to close, your loan approval letter from your lender, and also your credit scores. If your offer is complete. All of the pieces are put together correctly, and it's a strong offer. You have a very, very high probability that you will get a response from the seller. You could get a straight out acceptance, but in most cases, you will get a counter offer from the seller, and you can go back and forth. At that point, we negotiate when we agree on terms and everything else, and you have a signed purchase agreement signed by both the buyer and the seller. At that point, you're ready to open escrow and get everything wrapped up. Matt, I'll turn it over to you for any questions if there are any.
Leon, that was great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I know this is part of the most complicated part of the process, finding a home, getting your offer accepted. It certainly is very challenging. A couple of things I wanted to highlight. First of all, we are in a very dynamic situation right now with changes to the real estate industry. I think they're going to be very beneficial. But one of the changes that I think we'll see pretty quickly here is that most real estate agents representing buyers are going to ask you to sign a buyer representation agreement. In the past, if you saw a home listed on a real estate website and there was a real estate agent there, you could call them and they say, yeah, I'll go open up the property for you, no big deal. You wouldn't necessarily have to sign an agreement. Now you will very likely need to sign a buyer representation agreement. What I recommend is for that initial encounter with this real estate agent, if you haven't worked with in the past, the term of that buyer representation agreement can be very short. It could be the weekend, it could be 2 days or 3 days. Try it out with that agent before you sign a long-term buyer representation agreement, so that there's no confusion or questions about that. Once a relationship develops and you feel like this is the agent's going to be working with you for a long period of time, then go ahead and you can, just for making it easy and convenient, go ahead and sign a longer term representation agreement. The other point that Leon made that I want to emphasize is the importance of realizing that making an offer on a home is not the same as buying that home. It's making an offer. And in a few minutes here, Grace is going to be talking about the settlement process that happens once you have an accepted offer, and the fact that the first part of that settlement or escrow process is what we call the contingency period, where it really allows you to make sure that this is the right deal for you. So while Leon is 100% correct, you don't want to make frivolous offers on homes that you wouldn't really want to purchase if you get an acceptance. But don't worry if there's still issues or concerns, you're not 100% sure, you have some things you want to work through. You're going to have that contingency period to address those issues and still be able to move forward. We're coming up on the home stretch in our workshop, and I'm really mindful of time. I want to invite Amir Alahe, who's joined us now. Amir, if you could unmute yourself, or maybe I need to unmute you. There you go. Amir, are you able to, so we can see you, turn your camera on? There you are.
Okay.
Hey, Amir. Breaking up a
Can you see
little.
me? Good morning.
Yeah, Amir, I went ahead and covered the segment you were going to talk about, dealing with the opportunities for remote workers. But I did want everybody to get a chance to meet you and maybe share just a couple of quick thoughts. I would appreciate that, about the buying process or what you're seeing in the market right now, or opportunities in some of the more remote, outlying areas in the Los Angeles area.
Great. Thanks for having me, Matt. I actually do a lot of work in the Inland Empire. And so the price point, of course, is a lot lower than the LA County area. And so for folks who are remote, 5 days a week, or even if you've got to go into the office 1 or 2 days a week, that's definitely a great option to consider. The traffic, of course, is always a consideration, but frankly, if you're working remotely, there's some great opportunities that are under, 500,000. That'll get you 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, in some really decent neighborhoods. There are also still some amazing down payment assistance available. working with a couple programs that are over $200,000 in down payment assistance in the Inland Empire. So there's still funds available as well. So it's a great opportunity to consider. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Amir. I really appreciate it. And just a reminder, all the people that you're meeting today, you're going to have all of their contact information so that you can follow up with them, email, phone number, and we certainly encourage you to do that. We're here to support your journey on purchasing your home. So this is not just a one-time encounter today. We hope to have a long-term relationship with you. So I'm going to transition now and talk about financing and getting your financing approved, and the home loan application process. Normally this is almost an hour-long segment. We're going to condense it down to about 10 minutes and cover just the key high points, the things you need to know. So let's talk about financing, getting your loan approved. And what I'm really talking about here, if you remember that layered financing, we're talking about your primary mortgage, the loan you're making monthly payments on for 30 years. So when you think about qualifying for a home loan, a lot of clients, when they come to my office, the thing that they're worried about or concerned about first, or they think is most important, is credit and their credit scores. And right away they're talking about, something with their credit, or they're concerned about this or that. And I always stop them and say, we're not going to talk about that yet. The most important thing, there's 4 key things we look at when it comes to financing your home and getting your loan approved. The first and most important is your income. The second are your existing debts. The third is your savings. And the fourth is credit reputation. Of those 4 things, the easiest issue to resolve is credit reputation. If your credit scores and credit reputation is not where it needs to be right now for loan approval, there are some very concrete and specific things we can do quickly to get your scores where they need to be for loan approval. However, if you don't have enough qualifying income, or you can't document your income, that's a much more difficult problem to solve. So we always focus on income first. And then we look at your existing debts. These are your car loans, student loans, and credit cards. Any other legal obligation you might have, like child support, alimony, back taxes to the IRS. All those things use up buying power. Then we look at your existing savings, and then we consider credit reputation. So let's go through those things pretty quickly. But before I do that, I want to talk about when we talk about loan approval, what do we really mean? Well, there's 4 stages of loan approval. The first is what we call pre-qualification. So a lot of times you might call up a lender and say, hey, I'm thinking about getting a home loan, and they'll really quickly, they'll pull up their computer and say, well, how much money do you make and what are your debts? And they won't pull credit, they won't look at your bank statements, they won't look at your tax returns, they won't look at your W-2s. They're just giving you a quick estimate of your buying power. And so these are useful to give you an idea of what could be possible in your situation, whether or not it makes sense to move forward. And so that's called pre-qualification. And I know in my office, we give people little worksheets showing you've been pre-qualified based on the information that has not yet been verified with a review of income, asset, or credit documents. But it's a helpful way to get an initial sense of where you are. You cannot use a pre-qualification to make an offer on a home because it's not final yet. The next stage is pre-approval. So this is where your lender has actually looked at your income and asset documents, pulled a credit report, reviewed your whole file, and been able to submit your file through an underwriting system to get an approval. So this is what you want to get, that pre-approval, where your lender has really reviewed your file completely, looked at all of the issues, worked it through their underwriting system, and gotten you a pre-approval. This will put you in a position when you're shopping for a home to feel like a cash buyer because your financing is approved. Once you find your home and get your offer accepted, your lender will then submit your file based on that actual purchase contract that you have to the underwriter and look for what's called a conditional approval from the underwriter. So the underwriter will say, okay, based on this actual transaction, your loan's approved. Here's some conditions we need to clear before we actually close your loan. And so your loan officer will work with you to clear those conditions so that you can actually close on that loan. The final thing is final loan approval. And when does that happen? And this really freaks people out. Final loan approval happens on the day you close your loan. So this is the key thing to understand. When you've been pre-approved for your financing, your job at that point is to stay pre-approved. You don't want to go out and take on a new debt, buy a new car, change your job unless it's a better job with more income, deplete your assets, spend money on things. You want to really put your financial situation pretty much on ice until your financing is completed. Now, sometimes things do happen. Maybe you do have something with your job changes, or you had to spend some of your money for some emergency. Let your loan officer know so we can update your approval. So maintaining your approval is really, really important. So let's go over those 4 things we talked about: income, debts, savings, and credit reputation. So whenever we think about income, we're looking at your stable, verifiable income that's likely to continue for the last 3 years. So a lot of times we have people who, they just started driving Uber and they've got some extra money coming in. That's great, but it's not stable income yet. It doesn't have the right documentation we can use to actually count that income. So we're looking at your paycheck income, your W-2 wage income is the most easily verifiable sources of income. If you're self-employed, we're going to be looking at tax returns over the last 2 years and looking at your net taxable income. If you have any kind of government benefits, we can use that in most cases right away to help boost your buying power. The way to think about income, folks, is it's like helium is to a balloon. When you add helium to a balloon, the balloon goes higher and higher and higher. When you add income to a loan application, the buying power goes up and up. So, think about all of your available income sources. Don't be shy. Tell your lender about all the income sources you have, because their job is to make sure they can count as much of your income as possible. The next thing we look at are your existing debts. So where the income is kind of like helium is to the balloon, it rises up. Debt is like a lead weight on that balloon. It pulls it back down, pulls down that buying power. So car loans, student loans, credit cards, personal loans, payday loans, child support, alimony, back taxes to the IRS, those all use up buying power. And so here's a rough rule of thumb I want you to remember. For every $100 of required minimum monthly debt payments you have to make, that debt payment uses up about $10,000 of home buying power. So if you're thinking about going out and getting a new car loan with a $700 monthly payment, I had a guy come into my office last week with that. That car loan is going to be using up about $70,000 of your home buying power. So debt and debt reduction is one of the debt avoidance and debt reduction is one of the fastest ways to boost buying power. Every time you knock off $100 a month of required minimum monthly debt payments, you get about $10,000 in more buying power. So your job right now, folks, is to avoid new debt, reduce your existing debt, and that will help boost your buying power. And remember that rule of thumb. Every $100 a month of required monthly debt payments uses up about $10,000 of home buying power. The next thing we talk about are your savings. These are the monies that we're going to use for your down payment and closing costs. Remember, these programs we talked about, you really only need about 1% of the home purchase price. There's a variety of sources that we can use for your savings. A key thing I want you to keep in mind is that cash, and I'm talking about physical dollar bills that you might have in your wallet or purse or stored underneath in a shoebox underneath your bed. Cash is not an asset when it comes to purchasing a home. Underwriters look at cash as a liability because they can't prove where you got it. They assume that you went out and borrowed that money. So if you have cash and you've been storing cash for the purchase of a home, don't worry about it. We can still use that money. But what we don't want you to do is go deposit that money into your bank account now. Talk to your loan officers. There's ways that we can appropriately present that money to the transaction where it won't cause a problem. So the next thing we want to talk about is your credit reputation, which is measured by credit scores. Most of the programs that we've been talking about today are talking about targeting a 660 or better credit score. There are some programs that allow for lower credit scores. We do have a system that we've kind of put together. It's called the Stop, Start, Fix method for boosting your credit scores quickly. I'm not going to go over that now for the sake of time, but I do want you to go back to this slide. It kind of, requires you to think differently about your credit. A lot of people think that the most important thing they need to do is go fix or pay off some old, defaulted credit card from 5 years ago to get their scores up. The most important thing is to stop making your credit bad now. So stop any new derogatory reporting by bringing your past due balances current, avoiding any new late payments, and keeping your revolving credit card balances low. And then once you've done that, start making your credit better by having 2 to 3 open accounts with an on-time payment history and low balances. And then finally, after you do those 2 things, then selectively go back and fix any old derogatory credit. That might mean settling or paying off an old collection account, but only do that after you've talked to your lender to see which of those old accounts actually have to be addressed. So reverse your thinking. Number 1, stop making your credit worse. Number 2, start making it better. And then 3, selectively fix the credit items that you need to fix based on your lender's advice. We do have a slide here that I want to direct you to regarding student loan debt. We actually don't have time right now to go into it in depth, but this is a very helpful summary of the options for doing student loan debt. I'll just leave you with a notice that there are some great ways of dealing with student loan debt that reduces its impact on your buying power. So if you have a lot of student loan debt, don't be discouraged. Call us. We'll look at your situation and figure out ways we can reduce the impact of your student loan debt on your home buying power. So the 4 things: income, debt, savings, credit. Those are the things your loan officer is going to be looking at. When you meet for your pre-purchase counseling session that we're going to talk about in a second, we can help you think about each of those issues and how you can get your individual situation where it needs for the maximum opportunities for loan approval and under the best rates and terms available. At this point, I want to reintroduce, she's been helping us all day, Grace Kim. Grace, make sure your microphone is on. Maybe I have to unmute you. I think you need to unmute yourself. But Grace Kim is a real estate agent who's active with our first-time homebuyer programs. She's one of the LA Partners team members. And I asked her to walk us through the final closing process. Grace, are you able to turn your microphone on? We can't hear you. Your microphone is still muted, Grace.
It will be between.
Hello.
Hi, Grace. Okay, great.
Okay, so when you get your offer accepted with your agent, as soon as you open escrow is a third party, mutual party that helps you and the sellers all coordinate the process. By contract, you have about 3 business days to deposit your EMD, earnest money deposit. Okay. A lot of buyers, they ask me, how easy or how hard it is to get your deposit taken away from you from the seller. I would say as long as you have a very good agent that is aware of the contract, it's not too easy to get your deposit taken away. So just make sure that your agent is experienced and understands the contract and is in close communication with you and the loan officer. I find that transactions are a lot more smooth and more of a teamwork when your loan officer and your agent work together and you guys are all connected. So the first step is the contingency phase. Again, the contingency phase, the time frames are all going to be stipulated in the contract depending on what you and the seller agree on. During this contingency phase, you have reasons to back out, whether the property is not in the right condition that you want it to be, or if you and the sellers don't agree to the same request for repair, and negotiations, or the appraisal where the property is not priced at the purchase price you can always back out of the contract and get your deposit back. And that's going to be the job of your real estate agent to do that for you. Typically, once you get a fully executed contract, that is when your first-time home buyer funds will be set aside for you and that specific property. So it's not like, oh, during escrow, during this process, right, 30 to 45 days, that it's not like the funds run out, because that money is set aside for you. And again, here, the last part of the contingency phase, the deposit is refundable as long as you stay within the contingency period and you stick to the contract. Okay. The second is the processing phase. So this is going to be when your repairs are done. Some of these programs do include for termite work to be done. So make sure that whichever program you use, you and your agent understand that you will either have to pay for the termite work to be done, or you should ask the seller to pay for you. When you do in this processing phase, this is when the loan process is also being completed and submitted. And so your loan officer will be asking you for a lot of, loan documentations, and for you to prove your income, bank statements, pay stubs. Make sure that you're speedy with the process, so that, there are no delays. And if you're not very computer savvy, and you're not able to, download PDFs, or just make sure maybe you ask a family or friend to help you, or ask your agent to help you. Again, I really want to emphasize, deposit may not be refundable if escrow is canceled if you breach the contract. One thing is you breach the contract if you remove your contingency, meaning you remove your right to back out, but later you end up backing out because of that reason. So pretty much, the contingency is removed from the contract in writing. If you don't remove it in writing, then you're good to go. Again, please make sure you're in close communication with your agent throughout the process about your contingencies. It could be a very stressful period. It's people say that buying a home is very, very stressful, and there's a lot of emotions involved, but keep your eye on the prize. There are times when you may think that it's a little bit too much, or you may want to, just forget, this is too much for me, but just keep your eye on the prize, and just remember that ultimately you will be happy when you get the keys to your home after. The last phase is when you're signing your loan documents for the city, and make sure you give your notice to your landlord once you sign your loan documents, about 30 days before we were supposed to close escrow. Okay. You should be in close communication with your loan officer and your agent to make sure that you don't give your notice too soon to your landlord, because the last thing that you want is for you to have no place to live in. A lot of things happen at the end where when your loan is approved, then the loan, the amount is transferred over to the escrow company, and then you will be the final owner of the property, and you'll get the keys to your home. And that's pretty much the process.
Thank you, Grace. That's great. I know we didn't have much time for this, and this is, in a way, you could spend almost another hour talking about each of these different phases. Just a couple of things, keep in mind that contingency period is really set up to protect you, to help you make sure that this is the right home for you. Your deposit, while your contingencies are still outstanding, is protected. And I just wanted to make the point too that the good faith deposit or earnest money deposit is what makes the contract binding. The typical amount of the earnest money deposit is 1% of the purchase price. It could be more, but typically it's at least 1% of the home purchase price. And whatever you put in as your deposit ultimately becomes part of or all of your down payment funds. So for example, if you're using the LA City first-time homebuyer program and you're buying a $400,000 home and you're going to contribute that 1%, $4,000, well, that will be your earnest money deposit. That goes into escrow. And that will be the final months you need to bring in. You'll be very little or no more money that you need to bring at the end. So your earnest money deposit is not separate from your down payment money. It's part of your down payment money. So folks, we've covered a lot in 2 hours. I know that you probably have a lot of questions. Grace, I think if you could help us stay on after the event a little bit, if you have time. Also, Alma, if you could stay on and continue to answer the Q&A maybe for about 10 minutes. Hopefully that's possible for you. I'll do the same myself. Wanted to jump ahead and just talk about what Haypin discussed on the homebuyer education course. A number of you have posted questions about this. As I mentioned, you are going to get a certificate of completion from today's workshop. But should it turn out that you need the comprehensive homebuyer education workshop, which many of the programs do require, one way that we recommend is a two-step process through ehomeamerica.org. You can complete it online at your leisure. It takes about 8 hours, but you can do it in chunks over a period of time. You go to ehomeamerica.org and register to take their pre-purchase homebuyer education course. It's very good. A lot of my clients have taken it, really like it. And then when you're registering for that course at ehomeamerica.org, select FACE LA, Faith and Community Empowerment, as your local HUD counseling agency. So what will happen is you complete the online course. Once you've done that, the staff persons and coaches at Faith and Community Empowerment will say, okay, I see you. They'll see that you've completed it. They'll contact you to do the individual coaching or counseling session, which is done over the phone. And then once that's completed, you can get your 8-hour certificate from FACE. When do you do this? Whenever you want to. It has to be completed. Many of my clients do it once they found their home and have it under contract. You'll have the time to be able to do that then during the first couple of weeks of escrow. But you can do it at any time during the process. And you know who the players are. You know who FACE LA now is and the benefits that they provide. So what are the next steps today? Well, the next step right after this workshop ends, and I'm going to keep the webinar open so that you can continue to post questions and comments. But we want you to go to the website starthomenow.com, starthomenow.com. And at starthomenow.com, there's going to be a quick little form that you fill out. It'll take you about a minute, 2 minutes max. And that's your post-workshop registration form. We're going to use that to be able to issue you the certificate of completion for this workshop. It'll take us about 2 days to get you this certificate. It'll be emailed out to you, but you will get it in a couple of days. I would say by close of business on Tuesday, you'll have it. So that's the very next step. After that, you'll want to schedule a meeting with one of the approved lenders. In the toolbox that you're going to get from us, remember, I'm going to send you that toolbox with all these resources, including the entire training presentation you saw today. In the toolbox, you'll have a list of all the active lenders working with the various city and state and county first-time homebuyer programs. So the next step would be then get your financing approved. You can do that right away and start the approval process. So thanks so much, folks, for joining us today. I want to particularly thank Capri Maddox with LA Civil Rights Department and the great work that they did in promoting this event and the contributions they made. Capri was amazingly motivating. We appreciate her for that. Want to thank Haypin M with Faith and Community Empowerment. Really great input, and we just love the partnership with you. We have with you, and then all of our LA Partners team members, Grace, Amir, Michelle, Leon, myself. We're really excited to be here for you, and we're really looking for you to follow up with us going forward. And you'll get all of our contact information in the toolbox that you're going to get in a little bit here. So go to Start Home Now. You can do it right now. We're going to leave this up. We'll leave the webinar open for about 10 more minutes, maybe till about 11:15. Grace, Alma, if you have the ability to hang out. If not, I understand if you need to go. I'll try to monitor the Q&A as well. But thanks so much, folks. We appreciate you being here. We look forward to helping you purchase your first home. I just wanted to let everybody know the workshop recording will be made available. You'll have a link to it, so you can go back and review any of the information using the recording. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to shut down the webinar now. Please visit starthomenow.com to complete the final registration form. Have a great day.